Y boom, boom, boom. Ahí estamos, grabando, recording today with an artist whose work I discovered, I believe it was at the beginning of this year, 2025, due to a video he made explaining part of the process behind making one song every week for the entire year. And that was 2024. So he made 52 songs across that entire year. And yeah, it inspired me a lot. I was already going through a similar process with something different, but alas, here we are. Chuppychoo, singer, songwriter, producer, sometimes rapper, or at least a melodic rapper. How you doing, dude?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm good. I'm good. How are you doing, sir?
Doing good, doing good. Um, so dude, before we go deeper into the interview, before we start, could you provide your social media, YouTube, all that good stuff?
Yeah, sure. It's just chuppychoo, so CHUPPYCHOO on kind of all platforms, YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Music. That's it.
Perfect, 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 perfect. So, dude, like I mentioned, I found out about your work through the video per se of you explaining the entire process.
Mm,
Um, but when I dug a little deeper, I also found that you're a visual artist. So I wanted to ask,
mm.
um, did visual art come before music, or did they both come at your life at a similar time, like when you were a kid or something like that? Or how did it all start for you as an artist?
Yeah, it was definitely visual art was kind of the primary thing. I think everyone kind of has that where you just start out as a kid, start drawing stuff on whatever on paper or on the board. So it definitely started out that way, and music kind of came in to my consciousness when I started learning piano when I was very young. I was around, I'd say 9 or 10. I picked up piano, and then just ever since then, I kept going, and I made this. I had this app on my iPad, um, called like a cassette app, where I would just play piano, I'd record piano, and then I would stack it. I'd be like, oh, I can record another piano over this or another instrument over this.
Mm,
And then I didn't realize it was producing. I was just like, oh, I can like layer things. And then eventually I was like, oh, I can just use GarageBand for this. And yeah, that kind of was the story from there. And then I was trying to find a way to integrate my visual art, which, I've like veered away from, but I still wanted to integrate into my music. And I'm like, I think this would be cool. And also just to avoid copyright from like pictures and stuff. So I was like, I'm just gonna use my own thing. So yeah, that's kind of how it's integrated there.
awesome, 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 awesome. Um, so for music, would you say that you have a like a professional education, or were you just a learner on your own?
Uh, for yeah, for music theory, I was pretty formally trained.
Mm,
Um, at least for in a classical sense, where I was learning piano, like classical piano. But I learned my own like stuff with jazz, chords, and those progressions. And I also taught myself production. But that's like, I don't know. I feel like I had a really good foundation with the music theory from my piano teacher. Shout out Miss Anne. And yeah, that's about it there.
awesome. I ask because um, I've always been a big music fan. Music has been a big thing in my life. Like my grandfather, who was a musician in the army, eventually the love for salsa, he transmitted it to my uncles
Mm,
and my dad. So naturally, I had to become a music fan myself. And big music fan, but never a music practitioner. And part of your project and part of Joel Haver's project, he's a filmmaker
oh,
who's done a
mm,
lot of movies. Um, those two things inspire me to actually like try to make music and actually go back into making short films. So
mm.
I first want to do a similar challenge to yours of pushing myself to make at least a instrumental per week and then
Awesome.
eventually make proper songs. So for a starter, is there a program that you would recommend? I assume that GarageBand would be like the first thing that comes to mind, but a program or some other tool that you would recommend for somebody who's starting out?
Uh, I would recommend to use whatever tool that you can access. So like if GarageBand's like the easiest thing for you to access, then go for it. Or it's like, yeah, whatever gets you like the most easily inspired and also the easiest to like just create something really quickly. Otherwise, you're just leaving yourself a bigger barrier of entry um to just create stuff. And so, yeah, I would obviously suggest GarageBand. I'm very biased towards that, because it's so simple and it's so like accessible. But if you have another program like I don't know, like BandLab or or if you can afford like FL or Logic, um, those kind of programs are also amazing. Um, and so if you can use those, you can use those, have fun. So it really depends on also what music you're trying to make. If you're more headed in like the trap zone and like rap kind of end, FL is like a great program for that. Same with Ableton. Um, but FL is definitely more centered around making like hip hop beats. And man, GarageBand is just like a silly place. So if you just want to have fun, GarageBand's the way for sure. But I do appreciate that question. I think you mentioned Joel Haver as like a really like big inspiration for doing like consistent content.
Mhm.
Or Joel Haver, I don't know how to pronounce his name actually, sorry. But
Mhm.
he's really cool. I love his work. I've watched a lot of his stuff too, so that's really cool.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I found out about him last year as well. And the
Mm,
fact that I believe he made like a short film weekly, like for 4 years or so. And
mm.
then he did the 12 feature films last year. It's very admirable. Especially, I consider myself a punk in the sense that if you could do it on your own, then do it, then get help from community and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But if you can do work on your own and just, I don't know, write a book, make a song, make a short film, go
yeah,
ahead and do it. Why not? Especially now that we have so many resources at our disposal are so easily accessible. Um,
for sure.
so you did the 52 songs.
Mhm.
You've already released a few songs this year. Is there a bigger project in the horizon, or are you just having fun still?
Um, I think I'm still having fun. I think I'm just because of like a slight uh growth in audience, there's more people like reaching out to me to collaborate. So I think we're just gonna see more collaborations and because I just love doing that and just like engaging with the community that way because it's so cool to see everyone's ideas and to be able to like integrate them and then play with them is lovely. So I think something like that would be there. Other than that, I do try to make like official releases every year. So I have like my weekly stuff, but then I also have official releases, which are in schedule with the weekly stuff, but it just takes a lot more time and like thought and energy, um, and a lot more like fine tuning with mixing and mastering,
Mm,
which are the things that get on Spotify and Apple Music. The things that because there's art that I sometimes I just want to make art that I really, really care about and art that I want to have like injected a significant meaning and yeah, there's a significance to the song. And it's not just like me playing. I there's a part of me that still wants to make very like serious music where there's a lot more thought and effort put into it. Um, but yeah, so that's kind of what I'm expecting there.
gotcha. It's good that you mentioned it because I was gonna ask why some songs were on Spotify, why others were just on YouTube, and I also wanted to ask if you mentioned that is some are more serious, others are just maybe jams or having fun with it or just keeping on consistency and exercise and experiment. Um, the 52 songs, would you consider at some point putting them on Spotify like a playlist or maybe Bandcamp, something like that? Or do you just want to keep them on YouTube thus far? And Did you publish them via YouTube due to the easy access to just uh, press publish and just go on with it, or what was the process behind that?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if I'm going to release all these songs on like other streaming platforms. There's a part of me that separates like YouTube from other streaming platforms where I
Mm,
think of it as like this is like kind of my home space. I started out on YouTube here, and the channel kind of existed as a dumping ground for my stuff. I remember when I was a lot younger and I made a lot of stuff on like GarageBand on my iPad, so it's even worse than today. And I had a bunch of stuff that I made, and I was running out of space on my iPad. I was
mm,
like, I don't, I don't know. I want these songs, but I don't know where to put them. So I just like YouTube, my YouTube channel became like sort of a ground to just like put my like whatever. It's like a garbage truck. I'm just like, okay, put
mm,
this here. Let me just transfer this. And then I just like forget about it. Not fully, but I was like, this is just more, it was more for me to give space to make more stuff
mm.
than to actually put out stuff. Um, and then I started taking it more seriously, and I'm like, okay, this would be cool to keep on YouTube. And so this is sort of my home space. So I think I want to keep it exclusive on YouTube so that I have a separation between the songs that I've taken really seriously and the songs that I, or just, and all my songs. I just want to draw that distinction for me because I think there's something satisfying about like a very clean like discography, um, artist discography. So I want to kind of sustain that. But on YouTube, YouTube is for the fans, like
Mm.
YouTube is for me and for the fans, for just like, oh, if you want extra stuff, if you want to just see what I'm up to, what silly song I have this week, then that's there for you on YouTube. And so that's kind of where I'm thinking.
That's great. That's great. It also feels like keeping a documentation, like some sort of biography of like your baby steps up until wherever you
Oh
go in the
yeah,
future. You know,
for
it's like the
sure.
entire thing. Um, Throughout the entire project, the 52 song project, you explored a variety of genres from singer-songwriter to synth pop to simply pop to hip hop to a whole bunch of other things, even ambient music. So, was there something that became much more difficult to adapt to in the process? And I also wanted to ask, I have a process where every day I wake up, I walk around my house like power walking. So I do
Mm,
exercise and I'm writing at the same time.
mm.
Did you set yourself like a time every day in order to work on your music in that year? Or was it you just adapting to your schedule?
For sure. I do think genres. I'm not very good at making rock music.
Mm,
That's such a weird challenge because I don't have any of like the instrumentation for that, like to make live drums or live like electric guitar. It's just, it's not only that, I just don't listen to as much rock music as I do like other genres. So when I sort of try to dip my toes into it, it gets so messy very quickly. And that's probably a huge challenge for me that's probably the biggest difficulty I have in terms of a genre that I try to emulate. So that would be one. And in terms of the process for getting these ideas and songs, it's very spontaneous. I think I just wanted to be more consistent in making music. And so really all I had to do, because I don't know, I'm very like annoying about myself getting things done um when they're on my calendar. So all I had to do was just put on my calendar like every week on like a Friday or something
mm,
and just be like upload today. And I'm like, okay, so when it's that day, I'll just be like, okay, it's time to make something. And I just like do something really quick. So I just like forced upon myself within the calendar to like, oh, you should do this today.
Mm.
And then that was it. It just like kind of like fell into place because it was just in my schedule and not something I put aside and be like, okay, this is my side project. I can get to it whenever. As soon as I integrate it into like the rest of my life, I was like, oh, I'll just do it because it's part of my thing that I have to do today. Um, so that was kind of it. If there's no really process or like set like time in the day to do it, but there was definitely like a Friday or something where I would just have like create that time to just make something. And it would be sort of weirdly enough like a top priority within that day. Or like not top priority, but like the first thing I do that day. So otherwise I will just not stop thinking about making the song. So I just make the song and I'm like, okay, I'm done. Now I can just get to the rest of my work. So that was kind of the headspace I was in for making that.
Cool, cool, cool. It reminds me a bit of how I went through my own thing. I did FEN Fridays, which is
Mhm.
every Friday. This was a bit inspired by Good Friday, the Kanye West thing, and the Wyoming sessions, where every Friday last year I published a 21 poem poetry book, and
Mm.
that became the priority in sense of writing. So I don't know, every day I would write like 4 to 5 poems. None of them were like perfection or anything like that, but I just love the rawness of it.
Mm.
So once I had like Friday, you have to publish a book, whether it's good or not, you have to publish it.
Wow.
So yeah, I understand the feeling. Um, in the video, you had mentioned that the idea of just basically having fun with the process. So since you explored a variety of genres, did you every week like did you just go with your gut and just explore whatever came to mind? And when it came to lyrics, was it something extremely difficult for you, or did you go with your feelings, or did you pick like a prompt list or something like that, or was it a
Mm.
by week thing? How did it go?
Uh, yeah, in terms of like making the actual song with like production, I think all of this is so like deeply impulsive. I think I'm just sort of moving like very instinctually. There's stuff I listen to on like within the week, and if something like really like sticks to my ear or like something I'm like catching, like I don't know, like a very specific like Playboy Cardi song, I'm just like, okay, this is just the song in my head for now. And so if that idea like sticks with me throughout the week, it kind of transfers subconsciously into my music. I'm just like, oh, I want to make a song, but I don't think I want to make a Playboy Cardi song. I just like start making it, and as I'm making it, I'm inspired by the music I've listened to that week or a song that I've revisited after a while, and it just sort of pervades itself into the music. Um, but that's filtered through the limited sounds that I have on GarageBand. So it's not like I can exactly emulate
Mm,
the artist that I'm listening to. It goes through the filter of my experience of listening to it and the software that I'm using. And so you get like a very weird version of an amalgamation of the inspirations I had that week. So that's kind of the sound process on a weekly basis. Um, and in terms of the lyrics, lyrics are not great. They're just so quick. They're not there's not too much thought put into them, especially um for the weekly songs. Well, exclusively for the weekly songs. And but either way, that doesn't mean there's no meaning to them. A lot of the stuff is like how I'm feeling that week, or if there's a particular thing I could reflect on that happened to me before in the past, I would do that. But for the most part, it's extremely present.
mm,
So whatever I'm feeling or whatever I've been feeling that week, I inject it into my music. There were some ups and downs I went through this year, and there was or last year, and I kind of moved. My music moved with those emotions in a really interesting way. Like, or whatever stuff was happening in my life, it wouldn't be directly mentioned in the music, but
Mm,
the sentiment would be reflected constantly. So it's really cool. You can see like an emotional timeline as I'm moving through it. And you can see stuff if you like if anyone like would care like to listen in through the music, you would hear like that, oh, this guy has like entered some sort of like thing, some sort of maybe relationship or friendship that he's not particularly happy with,
mm,
or here's some issues here. Like you can see the issues coming up in my life as you're going through the the year of songs. So it's really interesting. It's just very impulsive and like very quick and reflective of the week or the day or the moment that song was made.
gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Uh, in a way, it's basically a time capsule of
For
the
sure,
entire
yeah.
year. It reminds me of, and this is, I was watching the other day, Fantano's review for 69 Love Songs,
Hmm.
and somebody left a comment about, I think the band is called In and Out, and they also did a 52-week uh, song project, and it reminds me a little bit of that. So a time capsule of your life that you can look back upon, and I don't know,
Right.
maybe in the future if you have children or whatever, they can also find out who you were at that time.
Yeah, that's true.
Be fun, could be fun. Um, you mentioned present, and when we get pretty focused on something like this, where it's a yearly project, every week there's something to be done, or something as simple as having a routine, like a writing routine or a playing music routine every day in order to stay sharp. One could get lost and not be present at the moment. So throughout this project, per se, did you ever feel like you were either burning out or uh, not being a part of important either family moments or times with your friends or stuff like that, just because you were too focused on this project, or how did it affect your external life?
Uh, there was not too much that like I made sure this was not in the way of anything else important in my life. Like, oh, maybe like academically there might have been something, but very minor like instances. But otherwise nothing has I've made sure that music hasn't like gotten in the way of like family time or just hang out with friends. If someone wants to hang out on the Friday that I scheduled music, I'm like, yes, I'm going. I don't care about this project right now because you matter a lot more. I can just work on it tomorrow, or just like, or I make it if I know I'm gonna hang out with someone that day, I'm supposed to make music. Sometimes I just make the music earlier, like on a Tuesday or something, or whenever I find like a quick bit of time to just make something like super quick, then I do that. In terms of like burnout, uh, there's definitely moments of just like I don't know what the hell to do with
Hmm.
this music. I don't know what to do today. But yeah, those moments kind of get overcome when I just sort of take the pressure off and ha have just gotten easier as I've kept going, where I'm just like, I don't care. I'm just gonna like try and I'm gonna make something garbage. I don't care. And I will just keep going and see where it takes me. There's a thing by there's this weird philosophy I take from Jacob Collier where he just kind of says that if you're in a creative rut, just like make the worst thing possible. Just
Mhm.
make the worst music you can ever think of, and then you'll get something that you like out of it. Because at least you made something, and then you can just like filter out whatever like horrible sounds you made. But even if it's horrible, it's like just funny. It's like you just made like a fun song. Like that was kind of the headspace I was in for early on when I made the song called Cat,
Mm.
where it's just me. It's just like the thumbnail is just a car.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like I just have to make a song, and I don't know what to do. I'll just make something corny, something silly, and so if I'm in a rut, I just make something like stupid, and it works out okay. Uh, And there's also been moments where I'm just sick,
Mhm.
and I get sick uh, probably more often than I should. I have the immune system of a Victorian child, and so I just sort of get sick like several times a year, and you can hear some songs, definitely a handful of songs, even before the 52 songs, where I'm definitely sick, and it sounds horrendous. The vocals are so bad, but it's like I gotta get it done.
Yeah,
It's just gotta make something. And so while I'm sick, I'm just like, okay. I don't have to sing this now, but it's just like that gets in the way. Maybe like health wise, I'm like maybe that's not the best recommendation to make music on a weekly basis. But yeah, it helps me like uh power through it and be like, okay, I'm sick, but I'm gonna do it anyways. So it's just like that's just kind of the only several barriers that I can think of in this process.
yeah, yeah. Funny that you mentioned Cat, because without having that background, I would have said this is just a pretty fun song. It's a pretty bouncy song. I was having fun with it uh, earlier today when I was reviewing some of some of the songs, and also that I also appreciate the honesty behind just being sick and just pushing through it. And you were also pretty honest with it while uploading the songs, like you actually put it in some of the descriptions too.
Yeah,
And despite that, if you were a listener who does not check out the descriptions or the comments, I don't know. I think some people dug it still, because when I was listening to some of the songs, I read some of the comments that said that they still love the song. So I don't know. I
yeah.
dig it. I dig it, dude. Um,
Thank you.
in a way, it reminds me of what I'm trying to do with the power walking. Like I'm trying to walk the 10,000 steps every day throughout the entire year. And so far, I got like 6 months left. But what I'm trying to get to is that sometimes you just feel like trash, but you just gotta get through it, you know?
Yeah.
Effort, 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 effort. Um, I also wanted to ask, sure, you've done the 52 uh, weekly songs. Do you want to, or have you considered adapting this same type of challenge to another art form that you've wanted to explore? Like, say, I don't know, maybe you want to get more into writing, or maybe you want to get into painting and you want to do something similar just to get you started.
Right. I actually haven't thought about that. Uh, I don't know. I do want to get more into uh drawing again because that's just something I've kind of fallen off of. Like all those thumbnails I draw, I don't like consider it anything. I now I put a little more effort into it because they're like at least like this year I'm trying to do like these like two frame animations just to give it some life. But for the most part, all my art has been so like quick and like that's kind of the nature of it. I just like, oh, I have this thing. I need something for viewers to look at. So I just do something really quickly. And it's on my laptop. I'm drawing with like the trackpad of my laptop on this like horrible drawing software. And I'm just like, it's fine. Um, so that's not really developing my art skills in any way, other than me just being like pretty decent with a trackpad now. But I do want to get back into like drawing by hand. I've been gifted like several sketchbooks by my friends, and so I will definitely try and make use of that. But that'll just be like I think a more personal project. Maybe I'll post it on Instagram or something, but for the most part, that's just like a personal growth thing that I want to just develop my visual arts a little more. And yeah, I think that's kind of it for the development for in terms of like translating this idea to another medium.
Super cool, super cool. Um, Earlier I had asked about plans for this year, but um, sometimes in the video you mentioned that sometimes it's not like sure you're doing this entire thing on your own, but don't worry or don't get too into yourself to the point where you're not collaborating with people and
Mm.
basically open yourself to it. This
Yeah.
year, do you have any plans of collaborating with more people outside of the ones that you have already worked with, or I don't know, do you want to reach out to artists who are maybe even outside of your home country?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I just put out a video yesterday with my collaborator and artist friend Canyon Gomez. He's someone that I came across through that video as well. Like he just messaged me um saying that he wanted to collaborate. I checked out his stuff. He has like one subscriber, by the way. I don't know
Mm,
how, because his stuff is incredible. It's so deeply complex, and I was just immediately like enamored by his work. So I was like, yeah, I think I want to. And so we did something really like something really cool. Um, and it's really interesting because you get different ways of how people make music. So Canyon Gomez, for this song at least, doesn't use a metronome. So, and the tempo is constantly shifting. Um, so there's no way to keep up with it other than you just like playing along with it as you like make the stems for the song. So I was just like, okay. So that was a really different approach for me to make music that way. And also his guitar tone is microtonal. It's just not, I can't play it on like
mm,
on my keyboard. So I was like, this is whoa, I don't know how to get over this. Um, and so I was just like the entire time on like my MIDI, I had like my left hand on like the pitch wheel modulation. The whole time I was producing, I was just like left it there and I was like making stuff. So it opens me up to new techniques and also new approaches to making music. And I think that's awesome. And I'm gonna keep trying to collaborate with people like Canyon Gomez. And there are other people that message me that want to collaborate. So, I just let's just have fun. Like I want to take advantage of the fact that there is a tiny, tiny community here and we can just be making stuff together. I think that's a wonderful, beautiful idea. So definitely way more collaborations this year and definitely out of my out of my municipality. So yeah, like Canyon Gomez is from the States.
mm.
So yeah, it'll be cool. We'll have a lot of fun with that. I do have another person on the way. I'll see where this goes. But yeah, he also wants to sing some stuff in Urdu. And I was like, that's fire. Let's see where that goes. So yeah, definitely a lot more stuff planned. Collaborations on the way.
Awesome, 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 awesome. Um, did you also have plans for like live shows and stuff like that, or do you, for now, do you want to keep it the way you're going?
Live shows would be lovely. I have no idea how to do any of that logistically, or if I have even the audience for that. So it just, if it happens, it happens. I do have to figure out this situation though. But other than that, I would be so down to make do some live shows. That would be sick.
Mm,
I have done some stuff, very, very small stuff in the past, but yeah, it would be cool to just have my own thing going.
nice, nice. I mean, MF Doom found a way. You can find a way too, you know?
This is true.
Yeah. Um, Dude, earlier on you had mentioned that you like to listen to a lot of music and sometimes that filters through the music that you're doing. And I had seen in some of the videos that you had mentioned some of the influences like being Mac DeMarco, Georgie, even other musicians. So what are you listening to right now that you think is uh influencing your work?
Uh, what have I been listening to? Let me check actually. Uh, there's some cool stuff. Yeah, Kenny Gomez, the person I worked with, he reminds me a lot of this artist called Midair Thief that I used to listen to a lot. Which is it's like a South Korean like folk tronica, like very pretentious
Mm,
kind of thing, but he's a very cool artist. Wonderfully like ornate music and like ridiculously experimental. So super fun stuff there that I've tapped into again recently. Uh, I'm also just being influenced by some some Latino music, some really cool stuff there.
Mm.
And that's just because I have yeah, I've just pulled some influence from there. Like there's a lot of like Brazilian music that I love. And also that new Bad Bunny is cooking
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
salsa. Oh my gosh, so cool. Oh, so like I'm not gonna I just like I don't think I'm gonna make a salsa track anytime soon, but I will definitely pull some influence from a lot of Latina artists, especially I don't know if you've heard Natalia Lafourcade.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Love her stuff, and I only recently started getting into it, and I would love to keep exploring because it's so organic and raw the way like a lot of the stuff is recorded.
Mhm.
I just want to like tap into that a little more because I do have a tendency to go more synthetic and reverb the hell out of my stuff and auto-tune my stuff. And I was like, I could strip this back a lot more, and pull some influence from a lot of Latino artists. And also really cool rhythms and percussive elements that I've kind of fallen more in love with the more I listen to. So that's kind of where my headspace is in right now.
Awesome, 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 awesome. Um, Dude, this session is about to close, so I'm gonna stop it right here, and we'll
Yeah.
finish up in another session. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
Pero antes de proseguir con el podcast, ¿sabrían que soy un autor? Sí, pueden conseguir mi libro a través de Amazon. Simplemente escriban Fernando Correa González en Amazon. Eso es Fernando Correa González en Amazon. O si no, pueden ir a Bandcamp y buscar la versión audio de mis libros bajo el mismo nombre, Fernando Correa González en Bandcamp. Eso es Fernando Correa González en Bandcamp. Y ahora seguimos con el. There we are, once again, round two with chuppychoo. Um, Dude, when we finished talking, you were mentioning Bad Bunny, Natalia Lafourcade. It's funny that you mentioned Bad Bunny. Um, if you ever come to Puerto Rico, especially on a weekend,
Hmm.
and if you go to places that are not tourist zones, and if you go to more places like neighborhoods and stuff like that, you will notice, especially ever since January 5th, that everybody's playing Bad Bunny, like either some of the salsa or some
Yeah.
of the reggaeton. So it's funny that you mentioned it because as you were mentioning Bad Bunny, one of the neighbors was playing one of the songs right there. Yeah,
That's
uh,
awesome.
yeah, yeah. The song just finished, and now they're listening to some merengue, which is
Mm.
some Dominican. It's sort of
Mm-mm.
like the salsa equivalent to Dominican music in some
Awesome.
weird way, you know.
Cool.
Um, so yeah, that's how life goes right now.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, And especially if you're like me, a teacher in Puerto Rico who's teaching high schoolers, they're singing Bad Bunny songs all day long. So that has been my playlist indirectly and directly
Oh boy.
ever since the beginning of classes. So
Oh.
since we've had this little brief exchange of musical artists, um, what would be some Canadian musicians that are relatively either popular or independent that you would recommend for people to check out?
Well, Canadian indie. Yeah, indie. I have one of my friends named Parallel, who's done guitars on my track Flower Picking. He's an incredible artist, really great musicianship, extremely tasteful if you're more into the like sort of the more spacious and like hypnotic end of Mac DeMarco's music.
Mm.
And if you like just indie, like very like zoned out indie music, I think you'd be really into this artist called Parallel, and he's really cool. He's in Montreal right now, um, and he's lovely, lovely artist. And aside from that, Canadian artists, I don't know. I guess I don't know that many Canadian artists, to be fair. I'm trying to think. Um, like obviously Mac DeMarco's great. And he's from our little our side of the lake here.
Mm.
Um, but I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm like drawing a blank a little bit. I think what's from Canada? Hmm. One second. I'm trying to think. Hmm. Okay, I'm definitely drawing a blank right now. I can't um think of any other Canadian artists, but definitely check out Parallel. Lovely artist. And yeah. Sorry.
Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. Um, I'm going through his Spotify right now, and he released an album last year. So
Yeah.
if people are watching this or listening to this, check it out. It's called I Believe in Angels. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's right there. As far as I go, some indie artists that I would recommend, or more independent artists, I guess, would be the more correct term to use. Um, I had mentioned before we started recording, or when we started recording, that I'm gonna interview somebody later today. His name is Guada. I can write it uh, in the chat maybe later. And he's collaborating with another musician called Aurelio Adasme, who he's a rapper. He's also a producer. He's also a rock musician. So he does a little bit of everything. Like
Oh,
one of his biggest influences is Frank Zappa, but Buckethead is also another big influence. But Madlib is also another big influence. So he's doing a lot of things.
oh,
So those are two. Obviously, Bad Bunny because he's up there, but those are just two of the independent artists. Maybe later through the DMs we can exchange some more. But yeah. Um, Speaking of origins, would you ever like to do a project that is deeply rooted in Canadian music or the Canadian environment as a whole?
Canadian music. I don't know. I think maybe an exploration of like indigenous music, like the indigenous people that we have here in Canada, like like the Inuit community and all that. I think that would be cool to look through. But other than that, I don't know. I guess I'm not that in tune with the 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 major like movements in music here in Canada. Um, but yeah, maybe. I think I would definitely pull from more indigenous communities because those get underrepresented constantly anyways. So I would love to just explore that as well because it's just really cool. There's some really nice stuff.
Nice, 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 nice. And finally, to close things out a little bit, um, as an interviewer or podcaster, someone who inspired this entire thing per se is Nardwar. So I wanted to ask, what would happen to you if the human serviette would come to you to interview at some point?
Oh my gosh, that would be everything. That would be a dream. Ardwar's the goat. I love Ardwar. I would love to do that. And yeah, I would just yeah, that would be so sick. Because yeah, he's definitely like an extremely Canadian fellow. And so if he's tapped in enough, maybe there's a hope there. But no, he's really cool. I love Nardwar. And I would be totally down to like just fly out to BC if he needs me to, and I will be there because yeah, he's lovely. I love Nardwar, and I would be a little scared, honestly, also just because of the sheer level of research he'll do.
Yeah.
But yeah, but it would be lovely.
Is there one question that you would like to ask him instead of him asking you, of course?
Yeah, like what's your source? Like I don't know, like what's the method? Like I'm so like he has to be calling like someone's parents or something. It's
Yeah.
so deep and yeah. So I think that would be my first question. But also he like puts on quite a character, and I do want to see what he's
Mm.
like outside of that. But,
No, yeah, I totally agree. Um, but I think that first question is the one that everybody asks, like,
yeah.
how do you do it? How do you
Yeah.
do it? You know?
How do you do it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so many years doing it too. It's like
True.
it's crazy. It's crazy. Um, dude, before we close out, as I mentioned before recording this, it's probably gonna come out next Wednesday. So that's maybe the 22nd, 23 or 24. It will be sometime around that. So
Okay.
is there something that you got ready for people to check out um during one of those dates, or what can people expect from you throughout 2025, even though we're still beginning the year?
Definitely expect more music. I mean, by the time that one like the this comes out, I'll probably have another song out. Or like yeah, I'll just keep adding on to the pile of music I have on YouTube. So just keep your keep your finger on the pulse on YouTube on my end. But there's also going to be stuff on Spotify. But definitely more in the future. And yeah, just check out some of the singles that keep coming out on my channel.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So, dude, first things first, thank you for saying yes for the interview. Um, Second, stay healthy. I don't know how cold it is up there right now, but I imagine it's pretty cold. So, but then again, I imagine that you've adapted to it since you're from up there. So it isn't something really weird for you. So stay healthy. Vitamin C just in case. Some
Oh
OJ,
yeah.
water as well. Water always. And third, I'll keep my ears open. I'll keep my eyes open to listening to more of your music, to watching more of your visual art, even if it comes out on Instagram. Maybe some of those drawings, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you have an album or an EP that you eventually want to do and you want to talk about it in another podcast, the door's always open.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing this. And you're a great interviewer, I should say. I'm very like humbled. Like these are really good questions, and I can tell there's like a lot of like research got into them, and like you're even looking at the descriptions of like certain videos. I'm very humbled by that. So thank you so much for doing this and for reaching out to me. It's amazing, and yeah, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Stay healthy too.
Thank you. Thank you. His name is chuppychoo. You can find him like that on Spotify, Instagram, YouTube, every social media platform that he uses. My dude, thank you once again.
Thank you.